There is a stillness that exists beneath the noise of your daily life, beneath the demands, the distractions, the endless stream of decisions and reactions. In that stillness lies something you have always known, but perhaps never fully acknowledged. Wealth does not begin in a bank account. It does not start with an inheritance or a stroke of luck or being in the right place at the right time. Wealth begins in a particular quality of mind, a way of thinking that precedes every dollar earned, every opportunity recognized, every decision that compounds into abundance over time. You may have noticed this already. You have seen people with every advantage squander what they were given. You have seen others with nothing build empires from empty hands. The difference was never in their circumstances. It was in how they thought about their circumstances. It was in the internal architecture that shaped their choices, guided their actions, and determined which possibilities they could even perceive. Right now, in this moment, you possess the same raw material that every wealthy person who came before you possessed. Time, attention, the capacity to think, to choose, to act. What you do with these elements depends entirely on the patterns running beneath your conscious awareness. The beliefs you hold about money, about yourself, about what is possible. These beliefs are not fixed. They were learned, which means they can be unlearned. They can be replaced with patterns that serve you rather than limit you. This is not about working harder or finding some secret strategy. This is about recognizing that your financial reality is a mirror reflecting your internal reality. And when you change what is happening inside, what appears outside changes in response, not instantly, not magically, but inevitably the way water eventually reshapes stone through persistent contact. The question is not whether you can develop a millionaire mind. The question is whether you are ready to see where your current thinking has been creating your current results, and whether you are willing to think differently. Most of what you believe about money you absorbed without conscious choice. As a child, you watched the adults around you interact with money. You heard their comments, their fears, their frustrations. You absorbed their tension when bills arrived, their excitement or anxiety around purchases, their statements about rich people and poor people, and what money means. All of this settled into your unconscious as truth, not because it was examined or chosen, but because it was present and repeated. These early imprints created a set of automatic responses that still operate in you today. When an opportunity appears, something in you decides instantly whether it is for you or for someone else. When money flows in, something determines whether you keep it or let it slip away. When challenges arise, something chooses whether you see them as obstacles or as information. These are not conscious decisions. They are patterns running automatically, creating consistent results. The millionaire mind is not fundamentally different from yours in capacity. It is different in programming. Where you might see risk, they see possibility. Where you might see limitation, they see a problem to solve. Where you might feel fear, they feel curiosity. These are not personality traits you are born with or without. They are perspectives you can cultivate through awareness and practice. Consider how you think about money right now. Not what you say you think, but what you actually believe in the moments when you are making decisions. Do you believe there is enough or that resources are scarce? Do you believe you can create value or that you can only trade time for money? Do you believe wealth is available to you or reserved for others? Your honest answers reveal the operating system currently running your financial life. Thinking creates feeling. Feeling drives action. Action produces results. Results reinforce thinking. This is the loop you are living in right now. If your thinking is rooted in scarcity, limitation, or unworthiness, then your feelings will be anxious, restricted, defensive. Your actions will be cautious, reactive, focused on protection rather than expansion. Your results will be modest, unstable, requiring constant effort to maintain. And those results will confirm your original thinking, strengthening the loop. But the loop can run in the opposite direction. Thinking rooted in abundance, possibility, and capability generates feelings of confidence, openness, curiosity. Actions become proactive, creative, focused on building rather than defending. Results expand, compound, create momentum, and those results reinforce the thinking that created them, strengthening a completely different loop. You are not trapped in whichever loop you currently inhabit. You can step out of it by becoming conscious of it, by observing your automatic thoughts about money without judgment, by noticing the feelings that arise when you think about wealth, by watching how you behave around financial decisions. This observation alone begins to loosen the pattern's grip because you are no longer identified with it. You are witnessing it, which means you are separate from it, which means you can choose differently. The wealthy mind operates from a foundation of personal responsibility, not the heavy, burdensome kind of responsibility that feels like blame, but the empowering recognition that you are the primary creative force in your own life. Your circumstances are not happening to you randomly. They are the natural consequences of thousands of small choices, most of them unconscious, all of them adding up to create the reality you currently experience. When something goes wrong, the reactive mind looks outward for causes. The economy, the market, bad timing. These explanations feel satisfying because they remove your agency, which removes your responsibility, which removes your discomfort. But they also remove your power. If the cause is external, the solution must be external. You become dependent on circumstances aligning in your favor, waiting for the world to change so your life can improve. The millionaire mind looks inward first, not to assign blame, but to identify leverage. What decision led here? What belief influenced that decision? What pattern keeps producing this outcome? When you locate the internal source, you locate your power to change it. You stop being a victim of circumstance and become the architect of circumstance. This shift is not about denying external factors. It is about focusing on what you can influence rather than what you cannot. Responsibility also means owning your learning. Nobody is born knowing how to build wealth. It is a skill set that must be acquired through study, practice, and often through failure. The millionaire mind does not expect to know everything already. It expects to learn what is needed. When confronted with something unfamiliar, the response is not defensiveness or shame. It is curiosity. What do I need to understand? Who has already solved this? How can I acquire that knowledge or skill? This willingness to learn continuously, to remain a student of wealth even as you build it, keeps you adaptable. Markets change. Technologies shift. What worked yesterday may not work tomorrow. The mind that believes it has figured everything out becomes rigid, unable to adjust, eventually obsolete. The mind that remains open, curious, committed to growth, can navigate any change because it is not attached to a single method. It is committed to a single outcome and flexible about the path. Time operates differently in the millionaire mind. Most people think in days or weeks. They make decisions based on immediate comfort or discomfort. They want the quick result, the fast return, the instant gratification. This is natural. Your biology was designed for environments where immediate reward meant survival, and delayed gratification often meant nothing at all. But you no longer live in that environment. You live in a world where the most significant results come from sustained effort over extended periods. The millionaire mind thinks in years and decades, not exclusively, but as the primary frame of reference. When evaluating an opportunity, the question is not what will this give me this month, but what will this become over 5 years of consistent effort? when building a skill. The focus is not on immediate proficiency, but on incremental improvement that compounds into mastery over time. When investing resources, the priority is not quick profit, but sustainable growth. This long-term orientation completely changes what you are willing to do today. You become willing to delay gratification because you can see clearly how today's sacrifice becomes tomorrow's abundance. You become willing to persist through challenges because you understand that difficulty is temporary, but the skills and assets you build are permanent. You become willing to learn slowly because you recognize that deep understanding accumulated over years outperforms surface knowledge acquired quickly. But long-term thinking without short-term discipline is just fantasy. The millionaire mind does not simply dream about the distant future. It connects that future directly to today's choices through daily habits and non-negotiable standards. There is a clear line from the vision of who you intend to become to the actions you take this morning. Every choice either moves you toward that vision or away from it. There is no neutral. You are always reinforcing one pattern or the other. Emotional discipline is perhaps the most underestimated aspect of wealth building. You live in a world designed to trigger your emotions constantly. Advertising engineered to create desire. News crafted to generate fear or outrage. Social dynamics that provoke comparison and inadequacy. Every day, you are bombarded with stimuli meant to move you from centered clarity into reactive emotion. And in that emotional state, you make poor decisions. The millionaire mind cultivates the capacity to feel emotions without being controlled by them. Fear arises when taking a risk, but the decision is not made from fear. It is made from clear assessment of probability, downside protection, and potential reward. Desire appears when seeing something attractive, but the purchase is not made from desire. It is made from conscious choice, aligned with values and financial strategy. Frustration emerges when progress is slow, but the action is not abandoned in frustration. It continues because the reasoning that started it remains sound. This is not about suppressing emotion or pretending to be unaffected. It is about creating enough space between feeling and action that you can choose your response rather than react automatically. It is about recognizing that emotions are information, not commands. They tell you something about your state, your values, your concerns, but they do not have to dictate your behavior. You develop this capacity the same way you develop any capacity, through practice. When you feel the urge to buy something impulsively, you pause. You observe the feeling. You notice where it lives in your body, what thoughts accompany it, what need it seems to promise to fulfill, and then you choose consciously whether to act on it or not. Sometimes you will. Often you will not. The point is not perfect discipline. The point is conscious choice rather than unconscious compulsion. Money itself is neutral. It is a tool, nothing more. But your relationship with money is not neutral. It is charged with meaning you have assigned. For some, money represents security. For others, freedom. For others, still, status or worth or power. These meanings shape how you pursue money, how you use it, what you are willing to do or not do to obtain it. The millionaire mind maintains a clear, uncomplicated relationship with money. Money is a medium of exchange and a store of value. It is earned through creating value for others. It is kept through spending less than you earn. It is grown through investing in assets that appreciate or generate income. This simplicity cuts through all the emotional complexity that traps people in confusion and paralysis. When you see money clearly, you stop moralizing about it. You stop believing that wanting it makes you greedy, or that having it makes you corrupt, or that lacking it makes you virtuous. These are stories, not truths. Money amplifies who you already are. If you are generous, wealth allows you to be generous at scale. If you are fearful, wealth gives you more to fear losing. The money itself does nothing. It reveals and magnifies your existing nature. You also stop waiting for permission to pursue wealth. You do not need to justify your desire for financial abundance. You do not need to prove you deserve it or explain how you will use it for good. You can simply want it because you want it, because having resources creates options, and options create freedom, and freedom allows you to live according to your values rather than your constraints. There is a faith required in building wealth that has nothing to do with religion and everything to do with certainty. You must believe that if you create genuine value and exchange it in the marketplace, you will be compensated. You must believe that if you save and invest consistently, your resources will grow. You must believe that if you develop skills and apply them persistently, opportunities will appear. These beliefs cannot be proven in advance. They must be held as faith and then demonstrated through action. This faith is not blind optimism. It is informed confidence based on observing how the world actually works. Value is rewarded. Consistency compounds. Skill increases earnings. These are patterns you can observe everywhere if you look. The faith is simply in believing they will work for you the same way they work for others. That you are not the exception. That the principles that govern wealth creation are universal and available. But faith without action is delusion. You cannot sit quietly believing you will be rich and expect it to manifest. The universe does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to force applied over time in a particular direction. Your faith must translate into daily behavior. You must act as if your beliefs are true, even before the evidence arrives. You must save as if saving will make you wealthy. Work as if your effort will be rewarded. Learn as if knowledge will create opportunity. And when you act this way consistently, reality begins to conform to your actions. The wealthy mind thinks in terms of assets and liabilities with perfect clarity. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out. This definition is simple and ruthlessly accurate. Your primary residence is not an asset, regardless of what you paid for it or what you owe. It costs you money every month in mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance. It is a liability you have chosen to carry because you value the benefit it provides. That is fine, but you must be clear about what it is. Your goal is to accumulate assets and minimize liabilities. Every dollar you earn presents a choice. You can convert it into something that will generate more dollars, or you can convert it into something that will require more dollars. The millionaire mind, facing this choice thousands of times over years, consistently chooses the former more often than the latter. Not always, not absolutely, but enough to create a widening gap between income and expenses, between assets and liabilities, between financial strength and financial fragility. This requires delayed gratification, which means the ability to choose future benefit over present pleasure. You forego the car you could buy today because you understand that the same money invested will allow you to buy that car and 3 others in 10 years. You resist the vacation you could take now because you see that building your business this year creates the freedom to take extended time off whenever you choose in 5 years. You skip the expensive meal today because you recognize that small expenditures repeated daily compound into substantial sums over time. Delayed gratification is not deprivation. It is strategic timing. You are not saying no to enjoyment. You are saying not yet because later will be better. You are trading small, fleeting pleasures now for larger, lasting pleasures later. This trade only makes sense if you can vividly imagine the future and value it appropriately. If the future is vague or seems irrelevant, you will always choose the present. This is why vision matters. Clear vision of your desired future makes present sacrifice feel like investment rather than loss. Your daily environment shapes your thinking more than you realize. The people you spend time with, the content you consume, the conversations you participate in, the physical spaces you occupy. All of this inputs constantly into your subconscious, shaping your beliefs, your standards, your sense of what is normal and possible. If you surround yourself with scarcity, complaint, and limitation, those patterns will seep into your thinking, no matter how much you consciously resist them. The millionaire mind curates environment deliberately. This does not mean abandoning people you care about or becoming isolated. It means becoming selective about influence, spending more time with people who think in terms of abundance and possibility, consuming content that expands your vision rather than contracts it, creating physical spaces that reflect order and intentionality. These choices gradually shift your baseline. What once seemed extraordinary begins to feel normal. What once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. You must also guard your mind against the constant stream of opinions and judgments others will offer about your choices. When you start to think differently, act differently, pursue goals that seem unrealistic to those around you, you will encounter resistance. Not because those people wish you harm, but because your change threatens their stasis. If you can succeed by thinking differently, it suggests they could too, which means their current situation is at least partially their responsibility. This is uncomfortable, so they push back, often disguised as concern or realism. The millionaire mind does not argue with this resistance or try to convince anyone. It simply continues. You do not need consensus to pursue wealth. You do not need approval. You need clarity about your own intention and commitment to your own process. Let others think what they think. Their beliefs about what you can accomplish have no power over what you actually accomplish unless you give them that power by adopting their beliefs as your own. There is a moment that comes when you realize